10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Hello, ladies and gents. Sorry, one sec. It just seemed to have started a program at the exact point where my stream went live there. That's really, really weird. How are you all doing? Sam here. Let me make sure that this is working properly. What did my computer decide to do there? Anyway, looks like we're working. We're live. We're good. How are we doing? Let's pretend that never happened. Everybody is getting frustrated. Woo-wee. I'll tell you that. I'm glad. I'm going to jump straight into the news. Let's waste absolutely no time. I'm going to be speaking about Antony this morning. I'm going to be speaking about Frenkie de Jong. I'm going to be speaking about Spurs and a £25 million move for Bissouma. We're definitely having a conversation about that in the comments. You know what I think about defensive midfielders. We will dive into that. What I will say before I do begin, you know what the comment section is all about. I am here every morning to try and interact with you as much as I possibly can. Try not to spam the comments. I know the frustration is really starting to really bubble over, boil over. It's getting that angry is the wrong word, right? But I suppose when you're seeing clubs like Spurs, again, we're talking like Gary Jacobs from the Times saying that they've agreed a £25 million move for Bissouma, and we're sitting here going, what's going on? Where is Frenkie de Jong? And I've said that as well. I said, look, the first bid for Frenkie de Jong went in on Friday. 70 million euros in total, 60 million up front plus 10 mil add-ons, got rejected as expected. Where's the second bid, United? Where is the second bid? It's now Tuesday. 3-4 days later, what's going on? We'll run through all of that. But yeah, the video I did yesterday afternoon, I want to quickly say something about that before we do start. I did a video with like the important update, and I said, look, I didn't personally agree with the amount of frustration that had sort of emerged among United fans up until probably Friday. I thought that the frustration was a bit exaggerated. I thought the frustration was, I'll be completely, I think it was a little bit over the top. Given that it's early in the transfer window, there's obviously, everybody's looking there, jealously looking at City with Haaland and Nunez with Liverpool and thinking, what are United doing? Why aren't we doing that? Right? I personally thought up until Friday that was a bit exaggerated, but I said this week is where I feel that frustration can sort of start to be justified, and it starts to change a little bit, because the biggest problem that we've had in the transfer window, in my opinion, you might disagree, but I think the biggest problem in the transfer window that we've had, it's not just about how long we've taken to go after a player. It's that period between first bid and second bid. It's how long we're sat at the negotiation table for, because it should be a relatively straightforward thing to do. The first bid got rejected by Barca. Go in aggressively for the second bid. Yet we've waited Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and now it's Tuesday. So we're 4 days, well, onto the fourth day after that first bid went in. Where's that second bid? Why is that taking so long? And that's why I personally think that frustration can sort of flip on its head this week. And I think that the justification for it starts to come in. But I'm going to speak about Antony this morning. I told you yesterday to sort of park the Antony hype a little bit. Some people say, deal very, very close, on the edge. We're nearly getting it. It's just not true. And it's fueling the frustration of United fans. In the same way that Gerard Romero, when he came out and said it was a 95% done deal for De Jong to go to United, that's a big part of the frustration that we've all got with De Jong. It's because we were told that a few weeks ago. Now we're in the same situation. It's almost like he went too big, too early. In the same way as anybody reporting that Antony deal done on the verge of being completed, it was too soon to go in with that strength. It's not the case. But I'll tell you what, Antony really is emerging as a target for Manchester United. And this, I mean, it's not going to surprise me, but it certainly leads to a question I want to speak to you about this morning, right? Before I quickly do, I want to say hello to everybody down in the comments. By the way, sorry, that was a bit of a strange intro. My computer literally started randomly, decided to load an Adobe program. Literally the second I went live, out of nowhere, decided to do it on its own. But look, good morning to you, T. Good morning to you, Al. I can see Ant down there as well. Sanka, Daisy, Ray, Jedi, lots and lots of you members. Everybody's down here. Nice to see you all down here every morning. And we all have the same frustrations, right? some more so than others. I'm here, and I will be here every day to try and temper the frustrations. But when you see City signing Haaland yesterday, you hear reports of today that Spurs have agreed a 25 million, by the way, 25 million pounds deal for Yves Bissouma. We'll definitely speak about that later. I understand that there's frustration. I do personally think that, I don't know, I might be naive, but I really do think we're going to be happy with how this summer transfer window has gone at the end of it. It's just that we're in the middle of the movie. We don't know what's going on. And as I said, from that natural point of pessimism, which we all are as United fans, you'd think United are going to screw it up. I just don't think they will. But look, before I quickly do dive into the news, I want to say that the new episode of the podcast went live this morning. Had 1 week break yesterday. As I said, there was nothing really to report, nothing really to discuss. But it's me, Neil, Bao, and Matt, and we talk about Frenkie de Jong. We talk about the transfer market. We talk about everything that's gone on, that isn't going on, and our fears, frustrations. Yeah, it's a good podcast, I think so anyway. So what I will do, let me quickly there's the link there. I'll leave it as a comment now for everybody on YouTube and Facebook. There's a link to the podcast there. Go and follow it on Spotify. Follow it anywhere and listen to it. As I said, I'm proud of the podcast and doing it, I think, a little bit better than most people are. So if you'd like to, listen to the podcast. If not, let's dive straight into this one. But look, Fabrizio Romano said this yesterday about Antony. He said Manchester United have a genuine interest in Antony. Of course, Erik ten Hag knows him well, but there's still no bid, just internal discussions. So no need to say that the deal's close. And as I said, anybody who's reporting that, it's fueling the frustration of United fans, because a lot of you then think, right, deal's close for Antony. Why is it not getting done? Why is it not getting done? Why is it not getting done? Why is it not done? Why have you not already signed Antony? Whereas in reality, the deal's not on the verge of being done with Antony. And again, then your frustration might go that way. And I can understand that. You'd be like, okay, why isn't a deal done for Antony? Why is it that why are we still just interested in him? And as I said, because I think this would mark a bit of a shift in what I would consider the priorities of Manchester United. Or maybe that Manchester United's priorities are completely different to how I see it. I've spoken to you in depth here on the channel. For me, this summer, central defensive midfielder should have been number one. It was number one last summer. It was number one the summer before. I went as far as to say that Ten Hag is doomed if Manchester United do not sign a defensive midfielder. I absolutely stand by that. So the idea of us just sitting by and watching Yves Bissouma go for 25 million, we will speak about that further in the show. But I thought it was a central defensive midfielder. I thought it was a central midfielder, a playmaker like Frenkie de Jong. Then I thought it was a striker, somebody who could support Ronaldo and make sure that he only had to play one game a week. And then a centre-back, probably in that order. But if we're going after Antony, and I said, according to Charlotte Ducker from The Times, he has been made a key summer transfer target. This is coming from The Times. This is coming from Fabrizio Romano. What do you think about the idea that we could be signing Antony as the attacking signing? Because it would mark a shift, as I said. I think we all felt, that the attacker we were going to sign this summer was going to be somebody who could supplement Cristiano Ronaldo, take a little bit away from him, relieve the responsibility of scoring the goals, right? And Antony's not that player. Simply put, he's not that player. Antony is an out-and-out right winger, right? An out-and-out right winger. So if we were to sign him, you'd be looking at Sancho on the left, most likely, Antony on the right, and Cristiano Ronaldo up front. So if we did go after Antony, it would, in my opinion, mark a shift. Maybe that Ten Hag's looking at it differently to how I'm looking at it, and how maybe some of you are looking at it. Because we're all looking at this going, right, what United need to do this summer is sign somebody so that Cristiano Ronaldo can be rested, play one game a week, then we get the most out of him, and we have somebody else. And that's why we looked at Christopher Nkunku. Somebody we felt could come in, play that centre-forward position, also play the right wing position, had a bit of versatility to his game, would have suited us far more than Darwin Núñez. But maybe that's not how Ten Hag sees it. Ten Hag could be looking at this. Okay, I'm not, well, I suppose I'm making it up, but hypothetically, exactly what a hypothesis is. Ten Hag could be looking at this going, right, instead of finding a way to rest Ronaldo, what I should be doing is bringing Rashford through as the backup for him. Maybe Martial would have a position in that too. We can speak about that. But instead of focusing on finding that alternative to Ronaldo, how about improving the service to Ronaldo in the first place? And maybe spending money on Antony and improving the actual service into the box and allowing Ronaldo just to be a goal hanger. I mean, he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. Problem is, last season, he was defensive midfield sometimes. He was left wing back sometimes. He was everywhere on the pitch because he was frustrated. He wasn't getting the service. You bring in somebody like Antony, a pure, proper right winger. Not only do you give Manchester United genuine balance up front in the shape of the team, because you've got a left winger in Sancho, he'll cut inside, he'll drift left and right. But Antony will hug the wing. Absolutely, he'll be an old school right winger. Really hugging the right-hand flank, spreading the defense, and also getting the balls into the box. That would then allow Ronaldo to just stay through the middle. It could happen. And as I said, it's something worth considering. Because I think if we went into this summer transfer window, right, and Darwin Núñez was a name on the list, that's not happening anymore. Christopher Nkunku was a name on the list. It looks like Leipzig are going to get him to agree to one more year at the club, and then they're going to put a release clause in his contract so that he can leave for a fixed price the summer after. That's a bit of a sign of intent from Leipzig to try and build on what they did this season. It's a sign of intent that they don't just want to have a great season, sell all their players and start all over again. They want to try and build on it, and he might well do that. So if those two are off the cards, we have to look elsewhere, right? And maybe it's Antony. And maybe it's just our priorities have changed, or maybe they always have been our priorities. I don't really know. Joseph, if we're to buy Antony, we better start selling many of our players that we want to get rid of. Surely a DM, centre-back, and a striker are more important. I don't know. I swear to God, at this point, right, I've got no idea, genuinely no idea what Manchester United's priorities are this summer. And that kind of strikes me with fear a little bit. Maybe that's just because, if you're trying to get a positive angle on that, it's just because Manchester United are keeping everything behind closed doors. And it's just left to all of us to guess what they want to do. And I hope that is the case. I really hope that this summer won't just end up like previously is. And I do have that hope. And that's why I will always sort of maintain a degree of positivity despite all the noise, the anger, and the frustration that seems to be bubbling. And I'll tell you what, man, if by the end of this week, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is, we get news that we've agreed a deal with Frenkie de Jong, all of that frustration will just disapparate like it was never there. That's all it will take. All it will take will be that one big signing to remove that fear, I suppose, from United fans that we're just not going to do what we need to do this summer. It won't really change anything the club is doing because they will just be going about their business. But yeah, for fans, I think getting a De Jong deal done would be the sort of tonic that everyone needs for this point in the window anyway. I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments out here, as I always try and do. DJG, what are you saying? Could Bruno play Pogba's position and Van der Beek now play Bruno's? No, because we won't be playing we won't be playing two number 8s. We're going to be playing a 4-2-3-1 with one number 10 and two wingers. So it won't happen. Antony saying, Sam, great player, but not priority. Is he asking on the cake, not the cake? Castle's made a stand of all that. As I said, it depends whether you... An attacker has to be a priority this summer. It has to be a priority. We have to sign an attacker. We cannot go into this season coming up now without bolstering our attack. It just depends where you think that bolstering needs to happen. Whether you think that could happen as a supporting striker, somebody who's a centre forward, somebody who's a number 10, somebody who's a right winger. But if you're looking at Ronaldo, we've got the greatest goal scorer of all time in our team. A man who, despite all the shit of last season, scored like 23 goals, got into the PFA Team of the Year, won the Samat Musby Player of the Year, got him at... And he did that with basically no service. Imagine what he could do if we structure a team around that. And Ronaldo won't play in the Europa League next year. And Ronaldo won't play in the League Cup next year. Just have him focusing one game a week. Did you not see Ronaldo playing for Portugal the other day? He scored 2 goals, didn't he? I think he did. Ronaldo, when he has when he plays one game a week, is a different beast. He's like 30-year-old Ronaldo. Still has that electric pace in his legs, has that extra yard. Fantastic player. And realistically, because we've got Ronaldo this season coming up, the profile of what striker we could sign was always going to be difficult. It had to be somebody who was willing to play second fiddle to Ronaldo, but also good enough to be second fiddle to Ronaldo. It's a difficult situation. It's a difficult market for a player. That's why we were probably in for Núñez, but not 100 million, because that's a marquee first team signing. You can't do that if Ronaldo's playing up front. Robbo, he is an old school winger. He's an inverted winger. Yes, stays out wide, but cuts in on his favourite foot. This is how Erik Ten Hag plays and with win-back overlaps. By me saying old school winger, I mean more to the fact that he can and does like holding his width. He obviously can cut inside, and yes, he does like to cut inside on his favourite foot, but he definitely has far more width than anybody who currently operates on our right wing. Marcus Rashford, whenever he plays there, Marcus Rashford should never play on the right wing. It should basically be illegal. Jadon Sancho, we all thought we were signing a right winger. His best performances have actually come on the left wing. Ironically, bit weird. But look, this Antony situation, I wouldn't particularly say it's a surprise. I would say it's a change of thought. It's a change of well, yeah, it depends where you think the priority is, and maybe Ten Hag's looking at it slightly differently. If we go through and we read a bit more about this Antony story, this is what Charlotte Dunker's saying. She's saying that Manchester United are interested in signing him. Adding an attacker to the squad is a second priority, and sources say that United are not limiting their search for centre forwards, which is exactly what we just discussed there. But second priority, I don't think I can't have it down as a second priority. It has to be a defensive midfielder. The defensive midfielder has to have been the first priority. I'll go into it now because I'm speaking about it. But what's your reaction to this, all right? I need to know what you're thinking in the comments, because no doubt this is definitely going to spark some debate, some opinion. Yves Bissouma. Tottenham Hotspur agree a £25 million fee with Brighton for him. 25 million for Bissouma seems like an absolute steal. Seems like a way undervalued. Let me check what I think there's 1 year left on his contract. So is this the last summer that Brighton can get some money for him? Let's have a look. His contract expires June 2023. So this is probably the last summer where they can go and get a decent bit of money for him. But 25 million seems very undervalued for a player like Yves Bissouma. Now, some of you in the comments, on Twitter, it was immediate response. Of course, there's the ongoing case that he is involved in, accused of sexual assault. I think it was in a Brighton nightclub. He was released, and it's still an ongoing and pending investigation. So don't just start lamping in comments about him, just like some of you do most days on Greenwood. That's happening at the moment. Could that have been involved? May well. But you can't make assumptions. That would just be pure assumptions. Spurs have managed to agree a fee with him. It's strange. It's really, really strange. Because for 25 million, that really is an outrageous price. I think so anyway. Let me go down here and see. Sam, you can't say Núñez cost 100 mil. I can say exactly that Núñez cost 100 mil because Núñez cost 100 mil. Frenkie de Jong being number 6, he won't be the number 6. We won't play with the number 6. We'll play with two central midfielders. We won't play with one holding number 6. Jonathan, you're saying, look, they aren't buying an out-and-out DM. That's obvious. I don't think we are. Right? But what we need is two midfielders who balance each other. Two central midfielders, one who has his eyes looking forward and one who has his eyes looking not directly backwards, but you get the point I'm trying to make. It has to be a balanced midfield, not just two playmakers sitting alongside each other, trying to be the quarterback and stealing the ball. And it's not right. We need one midfielder whose focus is on improving Manchester United in possession. That's your Frenkie de Jong. We need one midfielder whose focus is improving Manchester United out of possession. That is someone like Yves Bissouma. Someone like, I don't know, Ruben Neves you could technically put down there. Although I would definitely like Ruben Neves there. But 25 million is, just seems undervalued for him as a footballer. But it's whether or not you want to try and make the assumption that case has reduced his value. Obviously, the fact that he's only got 1 year left on his deal gives Spurs the advantage in that negotiations. But a concern I really do have personally this summer is just not seen much at all about any move for a powerful central midfielder whose focus is defensive responsibilities. It's exactly why I did some more research into the Ibrahim Sangare story. The PSV Ivory Coast midfielder, big, powerful, burly dude. And we've been linked with him. And I was like, right, okay. That's why I went and got the interview with Rick Elfrink. Big up to George for helping me source that interview. And it was interesting to hear the insight on that. But apart from Ibrahim Sangare, we haven't particularly been moving for a player like Yves Bissouma of that profile, which at this point indicates to all of us one of two things. And I hope the second part is correct. Number one, that we're not going after that sort of a profile. A midfielder with that sort of profile, which I think would be a catastrophic mistake this summer. We need it. We absolutely need it. Or number two, we don't know what's going on at the club. And we're all going to be pleasantly surprised when something comes out. That's what I'm hoping. That's really, really what I'm hoping, man. That all of this frustration is being born out of the club doing exactly what we wanted it to. Getting rid of the leaks. Stopping it. Keeping all the business in-house. That's why I hope that is what I hope that all of the base of this frustration is. And we're all going to be laughing at ourselves in 6 weeks' time, saying, wow, United surprised us all there, operating properly behind the scenes. A bit like, did anybody really hear anything about Yves Bissouma to Spurs? Absolutely not. All of a sudden, boom, they've agreed a 25 million fee for him. That's what we all want to hear, right? That's what we all want to see at United. But that would mark a massive shift in how we've operated as a football club. It really would. Let me go down here and read a few more of your comments out here. The leaks were Lingard and Pogba. It wasn't just Lingard and Pogba, man. It was plenty of them. But obviously Lingard, more Lingard's brother to be fair. But yeah, he was definitely there. Dennis was saying Sangare and Frenkie de Jong midfield pivot would be awesome. It would definitely blend together. It would be balanced very well. We are not moving towards a DM because Ten Hag has not set that as a priority. I think that would be if that is the case, right, and he hasn't done it, then I think it's a case on both a club level and a system level. Club level in the fact that we just don't have that player inside our squad. On a system level, the fact that Ten Hag needs that sort of player in his system. It's Edson Alvarez in the team just gone there, with Ryan Gravenberch operating more in the De Jong role. Previously, it was De Jong there, and it was Schürrle who was the one who would drop deep and sort of tasked with winning the ball back and recycling possession. Nice short passes, nice simple passes, allowing De Jong to look up and look for the gaps, look for the line-breaking passes. Who's that going to be in this team? This is wrong. Garner's not a defensive midfielder. He is not a defensive midfielder. He can play in that midfield too, but he's certainly someone who's a little bit more gifted, a little bit more natural towards the opposition half than he is towards the edge of his own box. That's where Garner's strengths have been for Nottingham Forest. So you're looking square peg round hole if you're going to be lining Garner alongside Frenkie de Jong. If you're going to be lining Scott McTominay alongside Frenkie de Jong, we all know that he's somebody he's got hustle, he can buzz around, he can make himself a bit of a nuisance, he can probably win the ball back, but his ability when it comes to possession and recycling possession is so limited. And I don't know whether that's ever going to improve or not. And we all know Fred is far better going towards the opposition's box than he is going towards his own box. The one thing that will definitely 1,000,000% not happen this summer is a surprise Rice deal. Rice has been priced out of a move. He will be staying at West Ham. They're trying to get 150 million for him. They will not get 150 million for him. That is as simple as that. But when it comes to Antony, going back to the original conversation we've been having there this morning, we've heard this plenty of times as well. Erik ten Hag has a gentleman's agreement in place that he will not just gut Ajax's team, because so many of you might go down there and go, oh, yeah, man, like, why don't you just bring in Edson Alvarez? Why don't you just bring in Yuri and Timber? Why don't you just bring in Antony? Why don't you just bring in Tadic, bring in Haller, bring in, I don't know, Lisandro Martinez and Tagliafico? He's not going to rinse the whole team. Gary, you're saying down here, do we still need a CDM, though, if we're going to be playing a different system? We don't need a CDM as a pure CDM. We don't need a number 6. We don't need a Wilfred Ndidi. We need somebody who, as part of a midfield duo, can balance and cover for the areas where Frenkie de Jong will need covering. He'll need someone there so he can just hold his head up and look to play the ball forward. And somebody whose responsibility would then be to drop in whilst the team goes forward and to protect the back too. We need that player. It's a fucking boring signing on paper when you think about it, but they are the signings that make all the difference, man. Rodri at City and Fernandinho at City and Fabinho at Liverpool. They're not the sexy players. They're not the ones that get the goals, but they are the ones that make that team a team. They're the glue in the middle. They're the ones that you might not put it down as no, actually, when you're probably watching them, a lot of fans probably do put them down as a first name on the team sheet because they're the ones that hold it all together. And without that, huge hole in the middle. I would love to be wrong about it. I would love to be wrong about it. But I can't possibly imagine Manchester United being successful next season if we don't sign a player in the profile, and that's what I'm doing with my signings, in the profile of Yves Bissouma, with the assets that he has and the characteristics that he has as a footballer. We need that in midfield. Somebody's definitely had way too much coffee this morning, and there's no synergy in that comment. I'll tell you that. Pereira's jeez. Rad, you're saying that comment's so true about Rodri. As I said, every successful team, you look at Busquets with that Barcelona team, you can look at Real Madrid and everybody they've had in that sort of midfield role. Casemiro right this season. It's every single team. Every single successful team in modern football has one of those players. Who is to say that United could be successful and not have one of those players? It's just not really how modern football works. And that's why I'm saying on a club level and a system level, we need someone like that, man. And I don't know. For the life of me, I don't get it. I do not understand how we can look. Frenkie de Jong. Whew, brilliant signing. I can't wait, hopefully, for the de Jong deal to get done. Is that going to solve our problems in midfield? No, it's not. And Vlad, you're wrong. Square peg, round hole. Fred cannot do that. He can do that maybe you can probably pull up a couple of performances and you can say, look, there you go, Fred can do it. But Fred cannot do that every single week against every single top-level team to the consistency and the reliability that we need in that role. We need someone who can play there and just put in like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 every single game. Boring. Bit like Dennis Irwin. Dennis Irwin at left back wasn't boring, but Dennis Irwin was the man you could rely on at left back. 7 out of 10 every week. Perfect. Didn't need to do that much more. Always there. Always the right place at the right time. We need that in the middle because we need to bring consistency to our game. And Fred and McTominay will never have that consistency. They'll have a brilliant game and then a terrible 2 games. And we can't have that anymore. We cannot have that anymore. Mason, not that Mason. Thoughts on Glazer shares falling to a new low. I'm going to be speaking about that just a little bit later in the show. And I've also got an interview lined up with Kieran Maguire, Price of Football, financial football expert, to speak about that in a bit more depth. Let me go down here and read a few more of your comments. Reggio, why aren't we promoting someone from the youth for the position to support Frenkie? Because, Reggio, do you see, man, again, context, do you see City going towards that? I mean, you never see City going towards their youth, but no, that player needs a leader. It's the role which requires the most leadership. It's probably the hardest position. It's not the hardest position on the pitch, but you're in a position of the pitch where your head has to just be on an axle. You've constantly got to be looking around and aware of where like 9 or 10 players are at once. It's very difficult to position yourself properly as that person in the middle because there's so much constantly going on. You need to know when to go forward and when to go back. It's why McTominay struggled to adapt into that role. I think he did okay last season, but he did okay. I don't think McTominay is ever going to get better in that role than he was last season. But look, if we're going to hear seeing what's being said out of Spain on the Frenkie de Jong situation, clubs such as City, Bayern, and PSG have been interested in Frenkie de Jong. But for now, the only club that submitted a firm offer for him is United. And I'll tell you what, this is something that we spoke about on the podcast yesterday. We were asking, saying, why is it that no one's really going in for Frenkie de Jong? I'll be honest. I've got no idea. I have no idea why the clubs aren't really going after him. But we've got a free run at him. In the same way that we had a free run at Sancho, and we still managed to make that last all summer. Get it done. This Frenkie de Jong situation now, there is no excuse. It's not about Interest FC. It's not about lining up whether or not we think Frenkie de Jong is the right signing for United. Obviously, we're in for him. We put in a bid. That's got rejected. Why should it take another 4 days for the second bid to go in? This is the point where we need to change how we act, react, proactive, move quick. We've got to go fast. Estevo, what are you saying here, sir? We were linked with a championship player yesterday. Ebiowi or something. Any news on that? That's the Derby striker. I think that Manchester United, that's a completely different type of signing to any signing we would make. It's just a young, exciting English striker. I think there you go. We'll go after him. Look, Fabrizio's just here tweeting somebody's message just in the comments. Sometimes the comments can be very helpful because they can let me know what's coming out. This is what he's just said about Yves Bissouma. Tottenham is set to complete their third signing. Agreement is in place for him. He's just repeating what Gary Jacobs saying. Fabrizio's done a lot of that. And look, I've got to say this here quickly, right? Fabrizio, it's the perfect example of somebody who's worked his socks off, got himself to that top table. But when Fabrizio used to speak, you really listened. But now he's constantly speaking. He's diminishing the power of his own voice by constantly speaking. I think so anyway, a little bit. But yeah, he's just saying here, Spurs are offering Bissouma a 5-year deal. Look, man, it's a very decent signing for Spurs at that price. I think so. Warren, Sam, wouldn't the CFO be involved in these transfer negotiations as well? If that's the case, then this Cliff dude should get sacked. Who's Cliff? Woodward leftovers still lurking within the walls. Matt Judge is still in and around the club until, I think, the end of June. I don't really know what he's doing, but he's been removed as a director of negotiations. So whatever he's doing, whatever pies he's got his fingers in, I don't think he's directly involved in the transfers anymore. Zibak, what are you saying? Wait till PSG and City swoop in up and pick up Frenkie de Jong whilst we wait for Barca to drop his price by 5 million. Happened before. I see absolutely no change this year. No one sees any change this year, right? But hey, I'm just hopeful. At this point, I wouldn't say it's blind hope. I think that the club has shown me, with all the changes that happen behind the scenes, that the club is serious about presenting itself as a new version of United with Erik Ten Hag in. And Erik would not have signed that deal. He would not have become our manager if he didn't have assurances that these changes were happening. And that is a big reason that I am remaining hopeful and optimistic about what we're going to do this summer. On a day-to-day basis, shit like this is going to make you frustrated. Stuff like this is going to annoy you. How is it that United can't be going after Yves Bissouma at that price? I can't give you an explanation for that. And I hope it doesn't really matter because we've gone and we've signed somebody else. JW, I probably agree with that. When it comes to, Ornstein, when he speaks, you really do listen. Daisy, what are you saying here? Honestly, I think we should give Barca what they want. Just get the deal done. Of course, everybody knows that. Everybody wants that. But there is, of course, there is a fine line that you have to walk the walk. That's why negotiations are tough. That's why Ed Woodward so spectacularly failed in his approach to it, because he came to football transfer negotiations with a corporate mindset. It didn't work. It did not work. It's difficult. There's nuances to it. And United are 15 million short of the offer. 15 million short of what Barca want to sell De Jong for. It's not much, man. When the Glazers take out 21 million plus per year in dividends, and we're only shooting ourselves in the foot here. There is a monetary value that you can't really associate with it, but You should be able to put a monetary value on your time, because time is everything. Time is the one finite thing that we've got this summer. We don't really know what our budget is. I don't think United know what their budget is, because I'll be honest, if we go and we sell Phil Jones, Antony Martial, Dean Henderson, Erik, our budget's going to be bigger than we thought it was. The only guarantee that we've got this summer is that the preseason starts on the 12th of July. The season starts on the 6th of August. They're the only deadlines and the only facts that we've got to go by. So that's why sometimes a bit more time is worth more to United than 5 million euros. And that's where Murto has to understand that subtle difference. It's not just about the fucking bottom line anymore. It's about how much of an influence that can have on the preseason preparations, the preseason plans, the plans for Erik ten Hag. It might cost you a little bit more money, but you give your manager and your team a better chance of success by taking that jump. And it depends what you prioritize. Do you prioritize just the bottom line, or do you prioritize having things ready in time? Well, we know what Manchester United's priority has been for a long, long time, and it's this summer where that has to change. Let me go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. Leaf, what are you saying? Life? People want any player regardless whether they fit. We need the right players with the right mentality. I'd rather know more players that don't fit the system. I mean, we know that, and that's why I keep talking about profiles of signings, signing players for the right reasons. It's good. Chris, how you doing there, buddy? Anybody who leaves that always makes me laugh. What's he missed? Everybody fit him in, because I can't do constant. I always see like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 comments per video. I'm late, Sam. Can you give me a recap? Because I can't particularly give you a recap, because if I give a recap every single time somebody said they needed a recap, I never got on to the next point. And you know what I think about Paul Mitchell. I don't know whether United were ever truly in for him. In the same way that we could all want an incredible striker this summer, but who's really going to play second fiddle to Cristiano Ronaldo? We all wanted Paul Mitchell this summer, but was he really going to play second fiddle to John Murto? No, he wasn't. Sam, you're saying, is it me, Sam, or I think too much? Once Ten Hag goes on for holiday, it appears the whole office has gone to sleep as well. I don't know. The office hasn't gone to sleep, but as I said, we put the offer in on Friday. It's Tuesday now. United don't need this 4, 5, 6, 7 day wait between bids, right? It's silly. It shouldn't take that long. Negotiations should be, we know what that is. Here's our counter offer. And maybe that is happening behind the scenes, but it's certainly not being reported in the press. I'll tell you one thing that's gone really quiet. That's Yuri and Timber, right? What was it? Maybe 2 weeks ago, where we felt like there was being real movement made. Real movement made with Yuri and Timber. We were like, okay, it's going to be done. What's the bigger priority? Like a central midfielder, or is it a centre-back? We don't know. But then the Yuri and Timber stuff has all gone a bit quiet, hasn't it? It's all gone a bit quiet. And I don't really know what to make of that. Maybe it's just United getting distracted or focusing purely on Frenkie de Jong. One thing that always makes us angry, I suppose, as United fans, is we look at our club and go, are we really only capable of like dealing with one thing at once? Like, does the Frenkie de Jong situation have to be resolved before we start looking at centre-back, before we start looking at an attacker or anything else, or a defensive midfielder? Why can't we do more than one thing at once? I don't know. Andy, nice to see you there joining as a member, my friend. I think I know where you're watching from. Big up Warwick Road. And Joseph, as always, man, thanks for your support. I hope you're doing better in the hospital, my friend. I'm pretty sure I remember it was you. You're saying if Frenkie de Jong is the main signing for Erik ten Hag, should just go and sign him. Imagine if Barca finds finances by Thursday and then they don't have to sell him, or worse still, someone else comes in and pays Barca what they want. We are leaving that door open. We are. 15 million euros in the grand scheme of things is not a substantial gap to close. I've told you, when we look at last summer with Jadon Sancho, the summer before, when they wanted 130 mil and we were only offering 80, I think it was. That's a 50 million gap. That was never going to get closed. 15 million, that should be closed, and should be closed relatively easily. But United have got to pull their finger out. And what is the priority for the club this summer? Is it their bottom line? Is it making sure we spend as little as possible? Or is it getting the best preparation possible done for the new manager? The new manager that you've just created an entirely new structure for, sack Jim Lawler, sack Marcel Bout, got rid of Matt Judge, got rid of the head of player care. Ed Woodward's gone. Richard Arnold's come in. John Murtaugh's there. Andy O'Boyle's been appointed. Huge, phenomenal restructurings. So if we're really serious about doing that, that has to be replicated in how we approach the transfer market differently. It has to all sync up, man. It really does. There's a comment there from Estevo, I think. Let me, where'd it go? Too many comments coming in. I'll keep missing them. Sam, I bet you by Friday we will sign Frenkie de Jong. Feeling a little bit brave today. You are feeling very brave today. You said that on paper now. We've got it on record. I mean, if we don't put in another bid for Frenkie de Jong by Friday, we've learned sweet FA. Sweet FA. As I said, I don't think the frustration, ultimately, my opinion, I don't think the frustration was really justified up until this week. I think people looking on at City and Haaland and Nunes and Liverpool was based more out of jealousy and frustration rather than really it being a huge problem for Manchester United and how we're doing things. The transfer window opened on Friday officially. We've still got nearly 2 months till the season starts. I'm still calm about it all. But if I see United go for a full week between a bid going in for de Jong and our second bid going in, then what are we doing? How did that take a week? If we're serious enough to go to the table with that, as I said, something changed last Friday. I remember it. It was Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic in the morning saying that, look, de Jong's open to the move. It's like United got that green light. And it's like all systems go. Here's the bid. So now what's the difference between putting that bid in? It's obvious that we want him. It's obvious that we're willing to pay for him. Bridge that gap. Go in there with 80 million euros. Guarantee you Barcelona accept that. Josh is saying, look, if Barca are having internal meetings this week, we'll see a new bid by the end of the week. I always said the date of 16th of June to you because that's the date I believe that Barcelona are making their decision when it comes to the other ways they could raise money. And what's that? That is the Barca Studios. That's an event space that they could sell near the new camp, or at least sell the naming rights to, and their licensing, merchandising. They can sell off a percentage of future sales in bulk upfront to raise money. Both of those to balance the books. And obviously, Ousmane Dembele, they might lose him in a free transfer and get his wages off the bill. I don't know, man. I hope by the end of it, we're all happy. But at the moment, there's a lot of frustration. A lot of frustration among United fans. And speaking of frustration among United fans, I'm definitely going to be speaking to Kieran about this. Manchester United shares have fallen to a new record low as New York takes another tumble. Price is now down. Get this. The price is down 47% from October 2021. Wow. That is a hell of a drop. One thing to understand here is it's semi-reflective of a wider economic drop. There's fears in the market, post-COVID, the economy that's happening. We know that we look like England's on the verge of recession at the moment. Economies worldwide are not doing very well. I want to speak to Kieran to find out whether this United drop is purely reflective of that or whether there's something more into it. And I think it's a little bit of both. That's just what my gut instinct is saying. But yeah, if there ever was a time for someone like, I don't know, maybe Jim Ratcliffe, fancy coming and buying a club. Peter Kenyon, the old United director, he's now leading a consortium to try and buy Everton. Bastards. Why is everyone getting bought apart from us? Joseph, what are you saying, sir? I can see us getting Frenkie de Jong within the next week and then a further 2 signings for a pre-season tour. It will just flip. It will switch. Exactly what you're saying there, Joseph. Frustration will be replaced by elation. And everybody would say, oh, Murtaugh's a god. There'll be memes of Murtaugh doing some, I don't know, joining Ancelotti for a cigar and all that shit. And that will all happen in the case of 2 weeks if we just get our act together. Time is still way within our hands here, but we've got to start moving, man. We've really got to start moving. And he's saying, look, brilliant news. Never been a better time for a buyout bid. Look, it's the exact same reason why I think it was Avram Glazer cashed out on a lot of his shares about, was it 14 months ago, there or thereabouts? I'll speak to Kieran Maguire about it in a bit more detail because, lo and behold, I'm not a financial expert. I know some stuff about it, but it'll be good to speak to him about it because, as I said, the context is everything in life. It's important to understand that, yeah, United look terrible there, but is that partly reflective of the wider economic situation of the world? So I will speak about that. And look, I mentioned a couple of things here. Number one, if you've got any more questions, fire them in. I will try and answer as many as I possibly can in the comments, just like I do every single day. What I will say one more time is the latest episode of the podcast was released this morning at 7 a.m. And I'm always very proud of the podcast. I like to share the podcast. It's me, Neil, Matt, and Bao. We talk about Frenkie de Jong, and we have a little in-depth discussion. Just for level-headed, I think so anyway, level-headed United fans having a mature, decent discussion about United and not losing our shit. So if you would enjoy it, make sure you go and listen to it. I've left the link in the description. I've also left a comment on YouTube and Facebook too. Again, boom. Let me go down here and read a comment. As always, Phoenix, every single day, Monday to Friday, there'll always be a video going out at lunchtime, and I will always be here live at 9:30 a.m. Woo! It's Bissouma deal. Is there some sort of movement on that as well? Let's have a look and see if Spurs made any sort of announcement. That really is quite impressive from them. Well, no, nothing there yet, but nothing announced. But to go from, let's be honest, no one really heard a peep. This is exactly what I want United to do. Exactly what I want United to do. Out of nowhere, 25 million deal agreed for somebody. Huh? Who? What? Nobody was. It's almost like Spurs are operating as they should, and it goes to show you can do it. As a business, you can still do it. Aston Villa showed that you can do it. Clubs can operate behind closed doors. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult because there's leaks from every angle at United, from the agents trying to change the negotiation process and everything. That's what I want to see United doing. Mercurial here at 10:20 in the morning. He wants a mega pint. What's a mega pint? Is that like a pint with, don't know, some vodka in it? What's my go-to pint? I love Beavertown these days. Not going to lie. Any pub that has neck oil or gamma ray on tap, I'm there. I'm there straight away. Because there's nothing worse than a pub that gives you a flat pint. I don't understand it. It's like, how can you possibly give me a flat pint? This is the one thing you've got to get right, is to make sure it's not flat. Unbelievable. Let me go down here and read a few more of your comments out here. Erik, you're saying, I'm tired of listening or reading to any news regarding Manchester United. Well, you're probably in the wrong place, my friend, because I'm here literally talking about news of Manchester United. Josh saying that Sky's reporting the medical will go ahead on Thursday. Look, man, it's impressive. That's absolutely impressive. Matt saying, look, you go on the overlap. Looks like the Stretford Paddock guys, that's their domain. I'm still trying to get Gary Neville on here, but he's been ducking me the whole time. Oh, man. No, and I'm definitely not reading that comment out. Snakebite, that takes me back to uni. You should get like 2 for 1 at uni. Jeez. Sam, if you listen to the gutter press, we have not bid for anyone. Bayern seem to have agreed 5 players for the window open. The stinks of Matt Judge. I don't think I know you want it to stink of Matt Judge, but John Murtough clearly is a man who has control of what he's doing. Whether he's doing it right or wrong, he's a man who's in control of it now. He's brought in people, Andy O'Boyle. He's got rid of people he doesn't want to work with, and he's brought in people he does want to work with. So you can have your assumptions about Matt Judge, but I don't think there's any way that John Murtaugh's done all of this, and Matt Judge is still there just fucking shit up. Think about it. Just step back from it and think about it. It doesn't make any sense that John Murtough would do all of this, and he'd be like, oh yeah, well, Matt Judge is still screwing everything up. I may as well just let him continue that until the end of June. Come on. Don't think so, man. You can say what you want. I don't think so whatsoever. Josh, budget is the issue for us. We want to know how much we will sign De Jong for so we can see how much we can spend on the rest. And that kind of happened previously. But again, we've got no idea what our budgets are. If you look to all the newspapers, you've seen 100 million, 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, 200, 250. All guesswork when it comes to what our budget is. No one really knows. We've definitely got money. We've got enough money to sign Frenkie de Jong. We've got enough money to... I think our budget's probably in the region of 130 to 150. But again, that's guesswork. That's just a fair assumption. And then anything else is going to be supplemented by sales. And it's got to be Erik. Erik Bailly is a player who clearly doesn't have a future at the club. And he's not happy anymore. Said him. Dean Henderson, we can't keep him happy as our number 2 next year. And what's the point in loaning him out? We may as well just get a good fee for him. Both of those should probably happen. Anthony Martial, I think, personally, he should be sold. But if, for example, this proves to be correct, we're going in for Antony, then maybe Manchester United, maybe Erik ten Hag will be looking towards Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial to refine that 2019-20 form, where, remember, they scored nearly 50 goals between them. They can score goals, can score plenty of goals. They just lost themselves completely. Get Fellaini back. I mean, that's literally not the worst comment we've had here on United People's TV, seriously. Sanka, United are being sensible. Not saying the budget, so we don't get prices ramped up for everyone we go for. Kind of can work both ways, I suppose, because then those clubs can make their own assumptions as what the budget is. T, you're saying we can all bitch, moan and groan. At the end of the day, we have no influence, and what will be. Keep the faith and keep the hope. A bit like Australians who had the faith yesterday. Australia going to the World Cup after the most outrageous performance by a goalkeeper in goal. He was doing some sort of Russian Cossack dance on the line, but he saved it. What was his name? Redmayne? I think it was Redmayne. Like his second or third appearance for Australia. But I'll tell you what, Peruvians are fuming. Ooh, ceviche. Very nice Peruvian dish. If you haven't had it, Google it. It's like raw fish that's cooked. Well, it's not cooked, but then you put like lime juice on it, and that takes away the rawness of it. Takes that bacteria away. Delightful. Oh, look, all pops up here. Socceroos in the comments. Well, United will be going to Australia in the summer, won't they? If you stop doing a live until United signed a player, how long do you think you would be off? It's quite a funny question, really. I don't know. I would guess some point next week. That's what I guess. But let's find out. World Cup, Redmayne. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. Poch to be the new Poch to be Ten Hag's new head coach. Could you imagine that? We announce a first team coach of Mauricio Pochettino. No, you can't imagine that because that is never gonna happen. It is. It's a raw fish that's cooked in the acidity from a citrus. So technically, it's not cooked, but it's cooked. Come on, you know what I'm saying. But look, I'm starting to talk about raw fish now. I think we should probably end this stream. I know the frustration is bubbling. It's so damn bubbling. But we will make signings, all right? Hold your horses. Try not to get the guns and the flares out. There's no need to riot. I'm not Donald Trump. And we're not going to the Capitol. We will make signings. Whether it's going to be Antony, that'll be an interesting one. As I said, if we do sign Antony, it goes to show that Erik ten Hag has utter faith in Cristiano Ronaldo to deliver next year. Let's find out about that. I will be here at lunchtime. My lunchtime video will always go out every single day, Monday to Friday. Reliable, consistent. 9:33, sometimes 9:34 every single day. But look, I'll be here tomorrow morning at 9:30, hopefully with more updates and news. I want that De Jong bid to come in. I want to go live later on with news. The Man United put that second bid in for De Jong. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to hear. And I hope that in a couple of weeks' time, we can come back here and say, look, there you go. There's a couple of signings done. How much better does that feel? It'll be a good situation to be in. But look, thank you all very much for joining in. Thank you all for your comments. Joseph, big up to you, my friend. Thank you for supporting the channel. And everybody else, like Jibak, who sent in a super chat. It all goes back into the channel. Oh, actually, speaking of which, anybody, or not anybody, Adrian, my friend, where are you? Delia Smithing, that's what I'm shouting here. Adrian, of course, won the £250. Can never point properly. Won the £250 giveaway. Adrian, you've got 3 more days to get in touch with me. I'll reach out to you. I'll DM you on not Discord. I'll DM you on Telegram today. And if you don't get involved and you don't reply to me by Friday, ladies and gents, we're going to be doing the draw again. So you really, if you're not a member of this community, follow that QR code. If not, there's a link in the description and join the Telegram community because I'm going to be giving away that 250. It's got to go to someone. And no one's claimed it just yet. But look, thank you very much today. Yeah, it's like people don't want the money. I may as well keep it for myself. No, I won't. Anyway, take it easy, everyone.